Hey everybody, this is Josh Rundquist here for the Heavy Debriefings Podcast, episode 2, since we revitalized this podcast. And of course, it's not just me here, I also got the Metal Faerie here, who I've just gotten to see for about a half hour now after her bi-weekly excursion away from me. So, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Yeah, I just got back from my weekend away. You know, I gotta get away from this guy once in a while, and
I don't blame you.
I am back and ready to have a little fun talk.
And there is a lot to catch up on. There's been a lot of things that have been happening in the music world,
Absolutely.
our own lives, so many different things. What did you want to start off with?
Well, I think there's kind of an exciting purchase that was made today we could kind of share.
Yes, either due to a very quick flash sale or a complete error of judgment, I discovered that the 1-Up arcade for The Simpsons arcade and Simpsons Bowling dropped down from $700 to $199. And then I showed this to you, and you decided to come back to me and show me that it was actually down to $120.
Yes, and for a little history here, like this came out, about 2 years ago.
Roughly.
And at that time, I had planned on kind of sneakily getting it for him for his birthday. It was still a pre-order at that point, but we just kind of decided it was $700 for, 2 games on the system. So we're like, do we want to do this, or should we buy an Xbox instead? So we ended up going with an Xbox instead at that time. But we've kept our eye on this all these years. Well, not all these years, 2 years. And have been kind of eyeing when it goes on sale and debating it every once in a while. But I went and took a peek, and it was down to $120. And so I shared it back at him, and I'm like, so, your birthday's coming up.
And thankfully, it is a brand new purchase that we're going to be having. You're going to be seeing it in the background of the YouTube videos. When that goes up, it's going to be directly behind me because I'm going to be very proud of that thing. I'm very excited to be able to put that together and play The Simpsons Arcade, which I have not played in decades. The last time I got to play it was the actual real version of it in an arcade, and I've been wanting to play it ever since. And The Simpsons Bowling, which I've never played before. So I think that's going to be pretty cool to do. Yeah. Maybe I can find Danhausen on there for the high scores, and we can play together.
Maybe, but this has been kind of one of your dream things since you were young, hasn't it been?
Yes, it has. It's one of the machines that I've always wanted to get. Like, if I didn't build an arcade myself because I'm not that handy, or if I just didn't go the illegal ROM downloading style, I always wanted a Simpsons arcade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade, X-Men arcade, and Marvel vs. Capcom machine. And yeah, I got one of the 4 now, so 25% there. They were just games that I loved playing at arcades back in the day, and it's just going to be so cool to be able to have one of them. I don't expect to get any of the other ones, but I did get one that is so near and dear to me, and of course, being just the gigantic Simpsons fan that I am, it's just so cool to be able to say that I'm going to be able to have that.
Yeah, it'll definitely, even beyond playing and having fun with that, it'll just be such a fun piece to have in our apartment.
And the fact that we saved like $580 on there.
That's not too bad. It's basically the price of one special edition game at this point. And it's a full-on thing setup.
Yeah, it's a full arcade, like the joysticks and the buttons and everything. It's scaled down the size. It's not like a full-size one, but still, I think it's really cool.
And it comes with the bar stool and the
light-up marquee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I hope that'll look mighty nice when I get it set up and have it in the YouTube videos.
Absolutely.
So, before you left for your little excursion, I wanted to bring something to your attention that has been taking the internet by storm lately.
Yeah.
In our little news segment that we're going to be probably doing in the beginning of every show, just do like a weekly roundup of stuff, either things that are gonna happen or things that have happened, just so you know what's gonna be happening coming up. But we had to start things in the non-rock and metal route, although you could say this particular song has a really rockin' riff behind it.
I mean, if that's your opinion, I'll let you have it, but
Well, you never hear country songs that heavy anymore. At least I haven't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably know what we're talking about when it comes into the country world right now with Mr. Atlanta himself, Jason Aldean, with his new song "Try That in a Small Town." I never heard the song, but for like a day or two, I heard everyone in an uproar about this. And like, I kind of knew why. I kind of figured what it was about just from the title alone.
yeah.
But once we finally saw it together, I wanted you to sit down after you were done with work, sit down on the couch, and we could watch this 3-minute, I guess there's no better way to say it, hate speech music video. I'm flabbergasted at what I saw. Just there's so many ways to be able to think about this, but the main thing is it feels like it's a Blue Lives Matter, I'm afraid of anyone not white music video. And especially coming from Atlanta, of all places, never living in a small town, and the song actually being written by 4 other people, not him. I just found that out over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just done for shock value or just trying to get the right wing going, but it just felt so wrong to me. What did you think?
Well, and of course, he has since come out saying that, he's been accused of all this stuff now, but nowhere in the lyrics does it say anything racist or blah, blah, blah. Well, even if that is the case, if you've seen the music video, the background contains the courthouse where a young man was lynched about a century ago. If you haven't heard about it, he was accused of, I think I can't remember exactly what it was, but a group of men went and found him in the jail, dragged him across the entire town, and then lynched him. So it's pretty disgusting right then and there. And then the rest of it contains, as Jason put it, real footage from, news stations, but it's pretty much all you can tell from BLM protests. And if that's not loaded right there, if that doesn't make a statement, then what does?
And what about January 6th?
What about it?
Oh, just a police officer died, burning the flags, storming the Capitol.
But that's okay.
And not to mention that we live so very, very close to where the Black Lives Matter movement really started with the murder of George Floyd. And, it's just like that's something that's near and dear to us, even though we'll never experience something like that, especially so racially based. Spoiler alert, we're white. But we can still sympathize with people that have to go through those struggles, and the fact that people are trying to take those issues of just trying to get people to equal level and try to decimate that is such a horrible, horrible thing. And a song like this is just perpetuating that hatred.
Absolutely. It's giving a voice to hatred. That's what it is. And so many people are, clamoring, go Jason, you're finally saying what nobody has the guts to say. It's because you shouldn't be saying these things. If you really feel this way, you're a terrible human being, period.
And that's not just a political thing. That's just a human rights thing.
Absolutely. This has nothing to do with politics. It's about human rights.
But something that is also not political, but has definitely been making the social media rounds, especially since you brought it to my attention. I've seen it come up a lot more. Still going in the country route, of all things. A woman who apparently is taking the O out of country, Miranda Lambert, has kind of done something that is not really up for her to decide. Lynn, why don't you take this one?
So Miranda Lambert, who is a country artist, at a recent show, there was a group of women who took a picture during the middle of one of her songs, and she stopped the song. Or I don't know if she stopped the song or if it was at the end of the song, but she kind of called them out. And I can't remember the exact phrasing, but something to the line of, these girls are too interested in taking pictures instead of listening to the song. And there's a lot of views on both sides, and I gotta say, I'm kind of down the middle on this one.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
So what do you think are the pros of this statement?
The pros. Well, I mean, so here's the thing. Like, it wasn't. A lot of people are saying this was a selfie. It wasn't just one person innocently taking a selfie. It was a group of 6 women who had somebody else take a picture of them with the flash on while she was singing. And I'm sorry, but as a fellow concert goer, if somebody did that around me, I would be really upset with that. Because that's not only taking away from the singer, but it's taking away from the other audience members.
In fact, didn't we experience that?
Oh, we've experienced that a lot. Quite a bit of things there.
Oh, yes. Several years ago now, getting closer to a decade now, which is really, really sad when I think about it. Time is just an illusion. We got to see this great series of acoustic shows featuring some of your favorite artists of the 80s.
Definitely.
And more often than not, there was audience members that were drunk and going right up to the stage and taking selfies with the flash on, facing them during performances. Like,
Yes.
why would you want to disrupt everything just so you could get a picture like that? Especially in such a small venue like we were, you easily could have just stopped them when they were going off a stage and asked for a picture.
Yeah, to paint the picture with this place, like, it was not well attended and everybody was seated around tables, so there was no like general admission standing or anything. It was people literally walking up to the stage, flashing the flash in the performer's eyes. Like, I totally understand taking pictures of the performers. I do that all the time. Even a quick selfie here and there, sure. But when you're using flash, when you're doing something that's disruptive to the audience, that's where I have an issue, because it's not just about your experience, about other experience too.
So to flip the coin, what are the cons of this?
I mean, I understand that people pay money for, seats. And in this case, I think they're like in a VIP type section, at least it looked like, because they were behind some kind of a fence-in situation. And I guess that you want to like commemorate the experience. You want to have memories from it and stuff. But there needs to be that line of like respect for your fellow audience members along with that.
It's true. Like, just because you paid the same admission as someone else doesn't mean that you have to go out of your way to disrupt the audience, or, it's just like there's so many different ways to go about things. I guess, like, hearing both sides of this, I'm kind of down the middle as well, too.
Yeah.
Like, one, don't disrupt the show, but two, you also want to be able to enjoy the show at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, it's a balancing act. And, it's like when you go to heavy shows, like there's going to be a mosh pit that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Just because you paid for a ticket doesn't mean that you can start throwing your arms and legs around doing the pit ninja stuff and hitting people that are not participating in the mosh pit.
Exactly.
But that happens every single show.
Oh, yeah.
And people who don't want to be a part of that either have to stay out of it or they get sucked into it.
Mm-hmm. How many times we've been in the front row and have gotten elbowed, punched, kicked in the back. I like to fight back without looking back and just punch back at them, but I don't always get them, unfortunately. I mean, I've been knocked over from people running across the audience. It's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on.
Which leads me to one of my favorite stories about my concert going experiences when I saw this amazing bill that had bands like Flesh God Apocalypse and Origin and XDO. During Origin's set, someone went up to the stage at Station 4 and stage dived. And if you've never been there, the stage is very low to the ground. It's not very high up. So me being 6'4" and being at the front, I got kicked in the face. And my glasses got thrown, kicked off my head and landed in the middle of the pit. Now, what made everything so perfect was the singer of Origin saw me looking for my glasses. He told everyone to stop moshing and help me find my glasses.
Yeah.
The perfect part of the story, found them, not a scratch on them.
Miracle, you wouldn't have made it home.
I would not have made it home. My vision is so crappy. I would have been scared to drive home. I don't know how I would have gotten back. But yeah, not a scratch on them. I can't believe that happened.
Yeah. What luck.
Some other news. I didn't really write this one down, but there was a couple things that I've been hearing about lately. Some you can poke light fun at, some that is also a little bit darker in nature, but I just wanted to get more of a natural reaction out of you for it.
Sure.
First is Creed is coming back in 2024. They are gonna.
Sweet Jesus.
They are going to be doing a cruise with some amazing bands from the 90s, like Vertical Horizon and Three Doors Down, and like all the bands of that late 90s, early 2000s scene. What do you think about the third or fourth reincarnation of Creed coming back?
I mean, I'm as excited as anybody else, which is not at all. Not. I mean, hey, if it's your thing, you go, you have fun, you listen to them, but it not my thing, not my bag, not my bag.
I would go for Vertical Horizon.
Would you?
Well, he's everything I want. He's everything I need.
Well, he's my kryptonite.
Because I'm a loser, baby. Of course, that's Three Doors Down, but that's a whole other thing.
Another 3.
Getting a little bit lighter there and starting to get a little bit darker and then full on dark. Wasp has canceled their upcoming tour with Armored Saint throughout North America due to back issues that Blackie Lawless got on his previous European tour. The plan is that the band will be coming back sometime in spring 2024. I'm assuming Armored Saints is hopefully still going to be a part of that. And maybe we'll feel comfortable by then to be able to go back to a show. Because I think seeing Wasp potentially for the last time and seeing Armored Saint doing a best of set would just be incredible. But it's really a bummer to see what has happened.
For sure. I have loved Wasp my entire life, and Blackie's just he's such a character. Like there's no other band like Wasp, and I've always wanted to see them, never have had the chance, and so I really hope he's able to recover and they get at least another tour out there, because it would definitely be amazing to see them.
And while I don't really agree with Blackie's political takes, he has written some amazing music over the years.
Absolutely.
And while we have different feelings on what the best music is, mine is always going to be Animal F Like a Beast. And your favorite Wasp?
Oh, my favorite Wasp. Oh, gosh. Maybe Sleeping in the Fire. God, there's so many good ones, though.
And one particular album, I've heard it from so many people over the years, even though I haven't checked it out yet. I've heard from so many people, including yourself, that Crimson Idol is one of the best metal albums ever made.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking albums from Wasp, that is definitely an amazing one. Very underrated. If you haven't listened to it, do it.
That's all the inspiration I need to actually go and check it out sometime. I mean, I've always heard great things about that one. It's apparently a really cool concept album, and that should be like right up my alley.
Absolutely. You'll love it.
And of course, Armored Saints as well, too. We got to see them at Prog Power 2016?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe it was 2016. John Bush came and sang right next to us during Rain of Fire, which I thought was really cool. And they put on a killer show.
Yeah, they do. So they'd be great to see again.
And you, of course, like so many bands that you've come to enjoy, after we see them live, then you start appreciating them a little bit more.
That is how it goes most of the time.
You kind of enjoy them when we see them in the live setting, but it's not until you're by yourself and you're able to like sit down and dissect the songs that you're able to really appreciate music.
Yeah, well, you turn me on to a lot of music, obviously, and then like obviously seeing them live is a whole other level, but it's when I'm at my own, I can put my headphones on, kind of have my own headspace, and really kind of dive deep into music. That's when I really start to appreciate it.
And finally, just one more quick, well, maybe not quick, we'll see what happens, just a little bit darker news. Over the past several weeks, a lot of sexual allegations have been coming around. Till Lindemann of Rammstein has been the first one that has come through. There's a couple more that you may not be familiar with that have come out in time. Not to spend too much time on the Rammstein one, But there's a little bit of 50-50 going on here, where it might have been a misunderstanding, it might not have happened. I'm not a legal expert, so I can't really get into that.
Yeah.
I will say that really bums me out if it is true, because over the last several years, I really started to appreciate Rammstein. And even more so, I've really come to appreciate Lindman's solo work,
Yes.
which I dig even more because it's heavier. Some of it's in English, so I can appreciate it a little bit more. But I also think it's a lot more varied as well. Maybe that's because of Peter Tägtgren being a part of it, at least for the first 2 albums. I'm not sure, but I really hope it's not true, but it also wouldn't surprise me if it is, sadly.
Yeah, you just don't know anymore, unfortunately. So much has come out over the past years. But yeah, I mean, like you, I've really grown to enjoy Lindman quite a bit over the past year or so, and it's hard thinking about that, so, it's not for us to decide.
Exactly. But apparently, last week, the second of 3 allegations that have happened, more or less an upcoming rock band that's been around for several years, but they were going to be opening for Standing Godsmack, even though they're the exact opposite politically. A band called Nothing More had to drop off that particular tour due to sexual allegations as well. There's not as much information about that one. I don't think you know any songs from them.
No, I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with them.
Apparently they have a lot of like the mainstream rock appeal to it.
Sure.
I know the first album had a lot of Fair to Midland vibes to it, so I dug that, but then I fell off track of them because I think they, I just haven't really heard them. But again, if that's true, especially for a bigger market like Nothing More was starting to gain, that's a real bummer to see if that happened. And the third one, this one is probably the most shocking to me.
Okay.
The punk band Anti-Flag. Are you familiar with them?
I haven't listened to a ton of their music, but yeah, I know who they are.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm gonna get some of this wrong, and I'm just gonna try to be elusive in this, but a woman was on a podcast talking about a particular punk band that a member of the band sexually assaulted her and did more than that, and left like pretty good hints as to who it was. The next day, Anti-Flag nuked all of their social media. And they also had a Patreon, and they left a message saying that the Patreon is going away, the band has disbanded, and anyone who's paid for Patreon will be getting a refund. No other explanation.
Guilty.
And that's the most shocking to me, because I never thought of Anti-Flag as that kind of band. But it also goes to show, when it comes to things like this, anyone could be capable of it. I mean, you can't just always judge someone by their cover. Like, any person could be capable of heinous things.
Yeah, I mean, you get to know these bands, you feel like you get to know them, and you feel like it's on a personal basis, because sometimes their lyrics and their music is so near and dear to you and can change your life, but in reality, you don't ever know these people. Even if you get to know them, you don't always know people, and it's just gross at this point. Like, don't use your celebrity or your name at all to, like, do stuff like this. And don't do it at all. Like, it's just disgusting. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with people?
3 rules. Of course, there's more rules, but 3 rules. 1, stay away from kids. Kids that you're not related to, that you don't know, anything like that, stay away. 2, don't touch or be inappropriate with people who are not comfortable around you and is not looking for it. And 3, if you see someone you know that is doing either of those things, you make them stop. There's more rules, but let's just stick to those 3 for right now.
Just be a good human being, and if you don't know what a good human being is, go lock yourself up now.
So coming up now, the Metal Faerie and I have been trying to come up with some different ideas for the show. Maybe some of these things will be weekly. Maybe this will be the first and only time that you hear these things. But we just want to experiment and see what works. So I'm going to start this off with you.
Okay.
What's your problem with Futurama? Well, see, the show is coming back for their 4th revival, coming up on Hulu. Actually, today, if you're checking this out. I'm going to be checking it out. I think the episodes are coming on weekly. I've been a fan of Futurama ever since the first episode came out in '99. I've watched every episode, and while some of them are in lesser quality than others, I've enjoyed everything. And over the years, I've gotten you to appreciate The Simpsons more.
Yes.
I got you to check out King of the Hill, which you had absolutely zero interest in checking out.
Yes.
We both fell out of Family Guy.
Yes.
We both fell out of American Dad because it moved to TBS, which,
Yes.
Be it Conan, be it American Dad, be it AEW, TBS ruins things you love.
It does. It does.
There's many other shows as well that we could go into that
Sure.
I've shown you.
Mm-hmm.
Why not Futurama? What's your problem?
To be clear, first of all, I don't hate Futurama. I have watched it here and there in the past. I think Nibbler is just absolutely adorable.
He is.
He is. He's so cute. I guess what I would say is when I've watched it, there are definite nuggets of humor that I have thoroughly enjoyed. But it's just not as consistent as some of the other shows that I enjoy. And on top of that, the other way a show could go that I love about shows is it doesn't have a deeper meaning to me. So it's one that solely has to rely on humor. And it just isn't as consistent for me.
See, that's where you're wrong.
Oh, really? Tell me where my opinion is wrong.
First, it's an elegant love story that happens from, well, at least until, the original, well, not the original, but the last series finale that happened in 2013, 2014. I'm
Yes.
losing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's this great love story between Fry and Leela.
Sure.
Two very opposite different people that grow to become very fond of each other and end up together. And along with that, yeah, there's a lot of kooky characters that are a part of it, and it goes into different parts of the universe and stuff like that, and a lot of different tropes. But it does have deeper meanings behind it. There's some episodes that are absolutely soul-crushing.
Like the one with Fry and his dog.
Yes, Seymour.
Yes.
Yeah, there's episodes that just make you bawl like a baby. You're telling me that there's not a deeper meaning behind that?
Maybe a few select episodes.
But as you watch it, you can see how it's all layered together, and it works together so very well. I'm not saying that there hasn't been other shows that haven't done that and haven't done it better.
Sure.
BoJack is the perfect example
Oh,
of that. Who,
absolutely.
From the very first episode to the series finale, everything is threaded together perfectly, except for the last few episodes, which were very, very rushed, because they got canceled halfway through making the season, so they had to wrap things up very quickly. But I still feel like they did a pretty decent job of tying everything together from beginning to end.
Yes.
But Futurama is still very capable of that as well.
I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Would you be willing to?
I can give it a whirl.
Would you be willing to check out the new episodes on Hulu starting today, technically?
Sure. Let's do this.
Okay. And that's what's your problem? All right, the next segment that we got here is going to be a little bit of fun for the Metal Fairy, or it'll be absolute torture. One thing that I love about the Metal Fairy is she has a way of either being the nicest way possible of not enjoying music, or she will be flat out brutally honest about a song or a band that she does not like.
Yes.
Most of the times, you will say the famous line of,
It's not my cup of tea.
"It's not my cup of tea, it's not my thing, I can see how other people would enjoy it," those kinds of things.
Yes.
So what we're going to be doing here, even though it's going to be instantaneous for you, is I'm going to show her 3 different songs, and we're going to be going over them one by one by one, and I just want to get her engagement of it. Like, is this something that she enjoys? Is it something that she would enjoy? Or is it something that she would absolutely despise? So the first song, well, this one is a doozy. It is a band that you have said many times when you don't want to give a real opinion on them, even though you do like them. You say that a band is catchy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not your way of saying that you like the band or you love the band. You just say that they're catchy and they write some catchy songs.
Yeah. A lot of times they are my guilty pleasure. That's another way to put that.
And I will never believe in guilty pleasures, but that's besides the point. It is the band Avenged Sevenfold, and we just got done hearing the song Nobody, one of the singles off their brand new album, Life is But a Dream. We have heard this song in the past, but it completely left your mind.
Yes.
And you got reacquainted with this song just now.
I did.
Now, having been a fan of some of their previous work,
Yeah.
and not checking out all of it,
Yeah.
what is your opinion on Nobody?
What a heaping pile of manure. I mean, it is offensive to the eardrums. It's like they sat down and theorized what would be the most painful for people to hear. There is nothing pleasurable about it at all.
What would you say is the worst part about it?
Just the kind of drony throughout the entire song. It's like, if we don't already got your misery index going off here with this, here, let me throw this on top and just send you over the edge.
And no, people, she does not mean the band Misery Index.
No, I do know that's a band name, but that is not what I'm referring to.
Yes, my thoughts on this is I've only heard the two singles, and based off those two singles, I have no intention of ever checking out the album in its entirety.
Why would you?
Well, I've heard from many people that those two songs are the worst ones, and the rest of the album is better.
Well, that doesn't say much.
No, it doesn't. And my thinking is, if the rest of the album is better, why would you show those songs off to get people to buy the album? And it goes to show, like, the reason why I fell off the Avenged Sevenfold train. M. Shadows can't sing anymore. His voice is so monotone, and when he tries to go higher, it squeaks like the squeaky voiced teen from The Simpsons. I'll have to go see the manager.
Well, it sounds to me like he's trying to sound aggressive, but he doesn't have, like, the voice for that or anything.
And it's funny because the band started off just doing screams. Like, their very first album, there's so minimal clean vocals in it.
Yes.
Then the next one, it was half and half. Then on City of Evil, they just abandoned screams altogether. And up until now, they've been doing the clean vocal route. And he shot his voice somewhere in between that.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, again, like, hearing where the band is now, how does that make you feel about the band in general now in 2023?
I mean, like my favorite line, not my cup of tea anymore.
All right. Well, there we go with Avenged Sevenfold. Now, this next song, yes, this one is from a band that I've loved ever since I graduated high school. They started off as a really pure, kind of technical death metal band, and over the years have become more progressive and more groovy, and especially on the last two albums have become a lot more commercial. A lot of their riffs are a lot more simple rather than very technical and proggy, but they still have a great heavy sense to them. Of course, I am talking about Gojira, or Gojira if that's the way you want to pronounce it. I think you've heard me play this song before over the years. This is off their previous album. It is the song Stranded, which was one of the first tastes of the band's new sound with a more commercial edge to it. Having not really listened to Gojira outside of hearing me play it once in a while, what's your thoughts on Stranded?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you mentioned, I haven't really listened to them much in my day, but over the past, like, year or two, I've heard you play them quite a few times, and this song in particular, I will say the chorus and the end part with the clean vocals, I really like that. The non-chorus part, there's something about the music that's just a little jarring to me. Maybe it's that kind of techie proggy, like super proggy kind of just trying to sound unconventional, going out of their way to try to sound unconventional, which, you know, it's somebody's cup of tea, it's your cup of tea, but for me, it's just not something that I naturally gravitate towards. But again, like I said, the chorus I absolutely adored, and the clean vocals of it, and I really liked as well. So it's possible I could really like some of their music.
Yeah, I'll definitely say this album in particular, Magma, and their newest one, Fortitude, would probably be the albums that you would enjoy. You might be able to go back and enjoy some of the other stuff, but I think that if you ever went through it, I think you would at least find some songs that you would enjoy.
Yeah, and they're not bad to look at either.
Yes, I did have to show her a picture to see if that would help out at all, and it just might have.
Yeah.
As for me, I love the direction that they're going in, and I love the fact that they've gotten simpler over time, because I've kind of grown out of just listening to technical, progressive stuff just for the sake of like showing what you can do on the fretboard and on the drums. A song and a riff matter so much more than what you can play, and it's really cool to be able to show off, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you show off. Show off your songwriting skills. And I feel like Gojira has definitely done that over the last couple albums. I'm curious to see what happens with their next album whenever that comes out, but yeah, it's cool to hear your insight on them.
Definitely.
And now finally for the third song. This song, and well, really this band in general, is a band that we also saw at Prog Power. I think it was 2015, if I remember correctly, because I remember they were announced as the backing band for Mike Portnoy when he was doing his 12-step suite. This is a band that I've never known you to like. I think there might have been like one song that you kind of enjoyed during their live set, and I might be being generous about that.
Probably.
It is the UK prog band Haken and their song The Alphabet of Me off their brand new album. And this is definitely a different direction for the band. And, well, with Haken, you're never going to get the same album twice. Sometimes it gets a little heavier, sometimes it gets a little more experimental. This one's a little more experimental, and knowing how you feel about experimental stuff, what is your thoughts?
So I will clarify, I don't remember what their other work sounds like really at all. But with this song in particular, if Justin Timberlake tried to be a progressive metal band, this is what you would get. And let me clarify, I love me some JT. He is a guilty pleasure for me through and through, in sync and solo. But this is just that wanky trying to go out of your way to be proggy and like just prog. This is prog. This is prog.
Oh, that's
prog.
That's why I love you. Even though we don't agree, I love you. The first time I heard this particular song, I was very thrown off, especially by the what I refer to as the bippity boppity boo lyrical style.
Yes.
Of like
kind of Dragons.
Imagine Dragons, Machine Gun Kelly, that bippity boppity bippity boppity bippity boppity boo thing that is going on.
Yes.
That's my phrase. I don't know if anyone else does that, but feel free to use it yourself.
Yes.
But I've actually grown to like the song, and I really enjoy the album as a whole. This is the only song that sounds like this on the album, but I know you're not a fan of prog bands that are quirky just for the sake of being quirky.
No.
And I don't necessarily feel that way about Haken, but I absolutely understand why you feel that way. And, you know, it's just, we're not going to agree on everything.
No.
I mean, we agreed on Avenged Sevenfold. We kind of met halfway on Gojira.
Yes.
And this time, you know, it's just the polar opposites. And for these three songs, I'm very glad that it showed like all the differing opinions that we could have.
Right. And I mean, we both know I'm right at the end of the day, so.
You have to be. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely want to keep this one going in particular. I'm going to do more varied stuff. Maybe even throw some Van de Graaff generator your way just to get your opinion. But the fun of this is it's completely random. I didn't even know what songs I was going to choose as I was doing this, and I want to keep it that way, and hopefully you're enjoying it as well. All right, and now to get off of music for a little bit, although we will be getting into it again.
Absolutely.
Just wanting to bring things up here is the other forms of entertainment that we enjoy. So the first one I'm going to start off with is our shared love of wrestling. We talked about it on the show last week, And we talked about one particular thing that we were really looking forward to is Kota Ibushi, formerly of New Japan Pro Wrestling, being a part of AEW at least for one match. I don't know what's going to happen. He hasn't been officially signed yet. We'll see what happens, but he made his AEW debut last week with the Golden Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club in a double ring cage match known as Blood and Guts. First, before we get into that particular match, what did you think of the rest of the show?
I mean, the rest of the show was fine. It was fine. I mean, honestly, at this point, there's a couple storylines I'm enjoying with AEW.
Such as?
I'm enjoying the MJF, Adam Cole kind of thing going on right now. They're hilarious together. And MJF is just such a good personality, regardless of where he goes with it. Like, he's amazing. We don't deserve him.
And their shirt, the I'm Better Than You Bebe shirt, is the highest selling AEW shirt to date.
Yes.
And it's going to be heartbreaking when MJF turns on Adam Cole.
Because it will happen.
I kind of wish it wouldn't. I want this to go for as long as it can. But just knowing that it's going to happen, the betrayal is going to happen, you're just savoring at the bit on how it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
MJF is a modern day Ric Flair.
Yes.
Without all of the helicoptering of his genitals towards stewardesses, at least that we know about.
Yes.
But I agree with you on there. Like, that's one of my favorite storylines going on right now.
Yeah.
We're not watching Collision for reasons. And then, the Blood and Guts match. What'd you think?
So here's what I will say. Like, as far as Kota coming back, like, I was so excited. I kind of wish they would have left to the surprise until the match, because, like, I just felt like the audience was pretty lackluster in their response to him coming out, which was disappointing. And I understand I would say probably a good half the audience hasn't probably watched New Japan, my guess anyways, because they're probably just kind of casual wrestling fans. But I just felt he deserved a much bigger response than he got. But the match itself, most of it was good. It was good. Like, there was a lot of kind of really gross moments that were fun to watch. A lot of kind of outside things brought in, glass, thumbtacks, nails, everything.
Tables, ladders, chairs. Oh my.
Oh my. The ending just kind of fell short, though. It felt rushed and just kind of slapped together, and I just felt with the Golden Elite kind of being together, finally, they could have made more out of it.
Yeah, I feel like the ending was so rushed is because they were going over time.
Yeah.
And I feel like they went on too long, which is unfortunate. But I also think some things didn't need to be a part of the show. Mm-hmm. And it could have given the match as long as it needed to. Like, Britt Baker did not need a 30-second squash match. It added nothing. She didn't do a promo at the end of it. It didn't lead to another story. Mm-hmm. It just felt like they had to have the one designated women's match.
Yep. Which is disappointing for everybody who's saying how, like, they don't really have much for a women's department and stuff. You're not wrong. I mean, they squeeze it in there, but it's an afterthought usually.
Yeah, it is a bummer. And, going back to the actual Blood and Guts match, I did enjoy it. I felt like Kota was very, very scared during that match because he's not really a deathmatch hardcore wrestler.
No.
He is like a very technical wrestler, which is the New Japan style.
Yeah.
Like, they very rarely ever have like tables or chairs or outside interference or anything like that. It's usually taken to be what is supposed to look like a real competitive sport.
Yeah.
So being thrown into a match with broken glass and thumbtacks and all the stuff that's going to make you bleed and being covered in blood, I'm sure that did scare him for his first time.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's been a while since he's wrestled, too, at this point, so I'm sure it was, kind of wearing off that rust and stuff. And I'm sure the audience is new, too, to kind of deal with. I mean, the audience for New Japan is so quiet, and, it's not the same with AEW. There are some characters in those audiences.
Oh, it's so true. But I will say, I hope it's not the last time that we see Kota in an AEW ring. Mm-hmm. I wish he was signed to AEW, but I'm sure there's some reasons, whatever they may be, but it's still has my attention in AEW, and as a couple that is trying to decide if we're going to keep cable, if we're going to be going for some kind of live TV streaming app or something like that, because AEW is the only thing that we watch that isn't on streaming in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I still want to know what's going on with AEW. So,
Yeah.
Between that and the MJF Adam Cole stuff, and maybe there's some other good stuff that's going on or could happen down the road, I'm trying to look at the positive about it.
Yeah, I would just love to see it. The Golden Lovers officially became a thing again.
I would as well. And finally, see that kiss.
Yes.
So, since we talked about wrestling, which is on TV, is there anything else in the TV world?
On my end, it's really been kind of on the guilty pleasure side. Real Housewives of New York came back with a full new cast, which has not been getting good reviews. I'll admit it is a little boring. The big fight this week was about a cheese platter, so,
I've seen them fight over less.
Well, that's true. And then Real Housewives of OC is also, it's about halfway through the season now, and that's an interesting one. But, yeah.
Now, I remember when we took a drive one day, they were talking on a local entertainment talk radio station that a cast member of the Real Housewives of New York was on the red carpet and had to go into the bathroom and started puking. Do you know anything about this?
I forget who it was, because that was before I had watched it, so I didn't know any of the characters yet. So I'm not sure who that was.
Right on. Well, I found that very interesting, and I thought that would have played into the show, but
No.
I don't know how it works. I just know that Anderson Cooper's ex-lover is history's greatest monster.
He is not.
Andy Cohen is history's greatest monster.
Leave him alone.
All right, fine. This week I'll leave him alone. When we
Okay.
talk about it next week, I will bring it up again.
Of course you will.
Movies. You said that you didn't have anything really movie related.
No, I think I watched a couple Netflix doozies, but nothing of note.
Well, one thing that might be of interest, we've talked about watching this before, Terrifier.
Yes, I've always wanted to watch that, but I never
I
have.
believe 1 and 2 are on Peacock.
Yep.
I know at least 2 is on Peacock. I think 1 is as well.
Okay.
I just came across that on the home screen of our TV
Yeah.
just this morning, and I think we should do a double feature.
Well, maybe that's tonight's activity.
It just might be after we catch up on our YouTube stuff,
Yes.
which we might go into sometime,
At
talking
some
about
point.
talking about the YouTube stuff that we watch together.
At some point.
All right, we covered movies, we covered TV, we covered wrestling, games. How goes the Skyrim?
So Skyrim has been wonderful. I finally, for the first time in all of my many, many, many playthroughs, collected all of the stones of Baronzaya, which is a task if you've ever played, and not many people do it. And once you get it, basically what it does is it increases your chance of getting gems in all the like different chests that you find, and unlike the doggers, whatever they're called, on the ones, not the ones you kill, but the ones that are already dead. And yeah, you find like 4 to 8 gems in basically everything you open now, so like you're rolling in the money once you get this. So it's kind of fun. Outside of that, I'm still playing Love Island, the game.
I'm surprised you haven't started watching the new season yet.
I know I need to do that. But yeah, on this week's episode, we came back from the Casa Amar, and we're deciding if we are staying with a partner from before that or not, so that'll be exciting. But also, second season of Too Hot to Handle, the game, came out.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's similar to Love Island, but it's done way better. Like in Love Island, you have to spend a lot of coins if you want to like get special things or anything like that. Whereas Too Hot to Handle, it just like lets you choose how you want your character to look and what actions you want to take. You don't have to pay extra for anything, so it's pretty cool and stuff. And it's an interesting season so far. So we'll see how that goes.
You did leave one thing out.
I did.
In the past week, there has been some new tracks and characters added to Mario Kart.
There has. I've only played a few of them so far, but it's definitely fun.
Who is your favorite character in Mario Kart?
I mean, I am partial to Isabelle from Animal Crossing. She's just a little cutie, but as far as kind of classic Mario characters, I was always a Toad girl with Mario Kart, so.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Both very cute characters and stuff. And if we do get rid of the cable and we hook up the Switch dock to the TV again, it would be fun to go through those Mario Kart tracks again.
I mean, I will beat you on all of them, but yeah, if you want to try.
We can try. You talk a big game.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens.
See what happens.
On my end, I've been mainly still going through Far Cry 6. I know a lot of people have said, like Far Cry 3 through 6 are the games to play. And 6 is usually regarded as the least enjoyable. I disagree with that. Chorizo is one of the cutest characters that has ever been in a video game.
He is adorable. Oh.
And he knows how to throw down too. Like, he's able to jump up and attack enemies and stuff like that.
He's a tough pup.
And anytime the enemies try to hurt him, I just go up and slay him because I'm not letting anything happen to that little guy.
Exactly.
A couple other games. After I'm done with Far Cry 6, there's some other games that have been coming out. Two that I'm very, very excited to be able to go deep into is Twisted Metal and Twisted Metal 2, which are free on PlayStation Plus, although you can buy them outright, so if PlayStation decides to pull a Spider-Man and take them off the service, I am buying the games because I love them so much. I love the Twisted Metal series so much. The TV show looks like it's gonna be a one-season ordeal. We're definitely going to be talking about that when that comes out this week.
Oof, yes, yeah. We will.
I forgot what date it is. I think it's the 27th. I think it's coming out, so yes. That'll be an adventure.
Yes.
But the first two games on the original PlayStation, Twisted Metal 1 is a little janky, especially compared to today's standards. I mean, you're talking about a game that came out in 1995. So it's bound to happen. Twisted Metal 2 absolutely still holds up, even though I didn't really get to play it that much. But I will be playing that a lot more. And one game that I got back on Friday, but I haven't tried it out yet, but I've heard so many good things about it since it came out a couple years ago, is the game Ion Fury, which is what the cool kids are now calling a boomer shooter, which I don't agree with since the games that they're based on was created by Gen X, but that's a whole different story. Basically, it's like the classic Doom, Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, Quake, Unreal Tournament style kind of game, just updated enough and some cool new ideas behind it. And I saw a video on it, and it looked like something that was completely up my alley. And only $25 too, which I thought seemed like a really good deal for a style and genre of game that I really love. It brings back those classic memories. Like I have Duke Nukem 3D. I have all the Doom games on Xbox and PlayStation.
And Switch.
And Switch. Yeah. I'm not sure how big you are in those kind of games, but they're right there for you if you ever decide to do it. They sure are.
They sure are.
But I'm really looking forward to getting into that eventually, as still got at least another month before any games that I'm really looking forward to coming out. Starfield, supposedly September 6th, is coming out. I'm not holding my breath until I hit start and the game is playing in front of me. Of course, Spider-Man 2 coming out in October, and Alan Wake 2 coming out in October. There's a lot more that's coming out towards the end of the year, but until then, I'm just catching up on a lot of stuff that was either free or I've played before, or Ion Fury, so I'm definitely going to be looking forward to those. Alright, so going back into music, now covering the new music that we've been checking out over the past week, maybe some things that we're looking forward to, whatever the case might be. The first of that is my hero and yours, Mr. Heavy Devi, Devin Townsend, decided to drop 7 albums last week, but they're not what you would normally expect out of him. Even though he's made similar music before, he decided to drop 7 albums of ambient music, and it's of various different emotions. Like, one has more of a fire feel, one has more of a water feel, one feels like you're in the sky, another feels like you're in the mountains, and 3 others I'm forgetting what right now. But they all have their own different themes and concepts behind them. And with ambient music, you can all kind of say it all kind of sounds the same. And, that's kind of the point, is because he really wants this to be a 7-album suite of relaxation music. The kind of stuff that if you need something relaxing while you're studying or you're working, or maybe put your mind at ease while you're trying to fall asleep. Something that we used to do before we started watching TV together as we were falling asleep. We both used to listen to music falling asleep. This was before we got together. Like, I used to fall asleep to the radio all the time or put on CDs. You used to listen to music. Sometimes in the past when I do my night owl stuff, you sometimes put on headphones and listen to music when you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Do you think you could fall asleep to ambient music?
Maybe. So, I mean, I haven't had a chance to check out any of this yet, so I can't say specifically around this, but I know as far as, like, school and work, like, I've definitely been a fan in the past of, like, listening to classical music, because it's something that just kind of takes your mind into a more tranquil spot, kind of makes you relax, but it's not too busy. So, it's not something that's distracting at the same time. So if this has that similar vibe, it could definitely work.
So you're saying I distract you while I'm listening to promos while you're working?
No, not at all.
Womp womp. But yeah, I've gotten to check out about half of the discography, and yeah, it's definitely relaxing. It kind of puts my mind at ease. It's definitely stuff that's made me feel tired. Some of it is like 40 minutes in length. Some of it's like well over an hour. It's all various lengths. It's all different styles. And with ambient music, it's like you got to put yourself into a certain mindset. I mean, it's obviously not going to sound like Strapping on Lad. But I really appreciate the fact that he continues to make the music that he wants to make. Sometimes it is as crazy as that, like an album like Deconstruction. Sometimes it can be very poppy, like Addicted. And sometimes it's ambient music like what Dream Piece is all about, or an album that he did in the past called The Hummer, which had the same idea behind it. Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea, and who knows, maybe one day when I don't want to watch TV and I want to fall asleep, maybe I'll give this a shot.
Yeah.
So checking out other music things, this also goes into what to look forward to this week. This past weekend, I recorded and wrote up my top 10 albums of July 2023. If you're not familiar with that, I write up my top 10 favorite albums every month, and I show them off in alphabetical order. There's a lot of good stuff that I don't want to give away because I want you to be able to check everything coming out this Friday, either on heavydebriefings.weebly.com or the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel. But there has been some stuff that the Metal Faerie has been checking out. Some of it I brought to her attention, some that she's checked out on her own accord. So why don't you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so over the weekend, really I checked out a lot of singles that have come out lately. The only album was one that you recommended to me, Mistfall. Definitely enjoying that. They have a new album out, Celestial Vision. Just really good, like symphonic metal with really amazing female vocals. So that's a good one to check out. Outside of that, some singles I've been checking out. Hurricane has a new single out.
You're kidding.
No, they haven't had new music out in forever. I think they reunited back in like 2011, but then they've had a different singer since like 2019, I want to say. Because Kelly, the previous one, is in Foreigner, so. But they have a new single, Rockstar Cheater, and I believe their new album's coming out next month. I mean, comparing it to some of the albums that have come out from 80s acts over the past few years, I liked it a lot more than that. So it has potential. It has potential. I mean, Rockstar Cheater, obviously, you can tell, kind of has that 80s, like, sleaze vibe to it, but...
I thought it was a song about being yourself.
Depends on how you look at it. Also along the same lines, King Cobra has a single out. We Are Warriors. So that one, I believe their album's coming out next month as well.
King Cobra, is that the band with
Carmine.
Carmine Appice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's him, and then I think basically the rest of the band is all new people at this point. But, not as enjoyable as the Hurricane one. But I'm not shooting down the album completely yet. It could have potential.
Sidebar to that,
Yeah.
related to Carmine. We weren't doing this, obviously, when things were going on a month or two ago, but whose side do you take on the Nikki Sixx Carmine fight?
I can't remember. Remind me that fight was.
Oh, like Nikki Sixx was saying that Carmine is a washed-up drummer, and Carmine says, I'd rather be a washed-up drummer than a musician who can't play music.
I mean, not wrong. No, I mean, I like Motley Crue. I like Nikki Sixx. He was always the most attractive out of that group, for sure.
Is that really saying much, though?
No, not these days, no. Yeah, I mean, I would say as a whole, they're not exactly the best musicians at this point anymore. But yeah, I'll go with Carmine over this one. Yeah.
That is very fair. I'll agree.
Outside of that, I also checked out the new Mercenary single, Heart of the Numb. I really like it. I know a lot of people are still kind of on the boat of not really liking them post their, 2010 shakeup of members, or somewhere right around there anyways.
Now, for people who are not familiar, what kind of music does Mercenary do?
It's very melodic metal. That's how I would describe it, melodic metal. It's good. It's good stuff. And this single in particular has Matt Heafy on it. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, I've heard Matt Heafy, however you want to pronounce it.
However, but I've had no issues. I will say my favorite albums by them were from previous members, but I still like their music ever since then, and this is a really good single, so I'm excited to see what the album has in store. I also checked out the new Mormon single, that is Hell on Four Wheels. I love their vibe. I mean, they're very Children of Bodom-esque, of course, but they're just fun, and you can tell they have fun, and it's enjoyable music. It's just fun music to listen to. I also checked out the Equilibrium song. You played that one for me, and then I checked it off a little bit more on myself as well, and that's another one where they have a new singer, so I feel like there'll be some people who like it, some people will probably hate it, but I really liked it.
And Equilibrium is what style?
Oh, what style? They're kind of a little folkish, a little melodic metal, a little death metal, almost kind of melodic death metal. They're a little mix of everything, honestly. But killer stuff all around. I've been a huge fan of them for years. And then finally, I checked out the new single from Stream of Passion.
Which I didn't even realize that they were still going to make music.
Yeah, I thought they were done. But they have the new single out, The Hunter, and I love it. Still
not a nice Earth cover, right?
No. They're just amazing. It's a good mix of it's just a symphonic kind of metal band, and Marcella has one of the most beautiful voices out there. She's amazing, so.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a good variety that you got to check out this week while you were away.
Definitely.
I'm glad you got to check that out. Again, I got to check out a lot of stuff, but I'm going to make people wait for Friday when I got the list, both in video and written form. 10 absolutely solid albums. I will say that July was probably the easiest month for me to pick out 10 albums, as it was kind of a really slow month for a lot of heavy releases, at least the stuff that I listened to. I went through everything and it equaled up to 10, so that worked out perfectly. I didn't have to cut anything out, but you mentioned something that might be on there, just a little bit of a hint, wink,
Okay.
wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, just make sure to go check that out on Friday on YouTube and the heavydebriefings.weebly.com for as long as that's still available. I saw something that might be going away mid-August, and I might have to look a little more into that, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. And now for our final thoughts. Yes, thank you very, very much for checking out the show, checking it out as long as we have. I'm having a lot of fun doing with this with you. Mm-hmm. Trying out some segments here and there, seeing what's working, what will work, what won't work, and some new ideas that I know we'll come up with in the future. Couple plugs again, like I just got done talking about, the top 10 albums of July 2023, up on the YouTube channel and heavydebriefings.weebly.com. As of yesterday, I have up the 3rd edition of Opinions to Make Heavy Music Fans Mad. This has
Scandalous.
been a lot of spicy hot takes that I've been doing. It's been accused of me making up lies to get views, but they are all my own real opinions that I have.
I can assure you they are his real opinions.
And trust me, there's so much more to say.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to keep that going as long as I can. But I also want to talk about the top 10 albums of every year I've been alive, 1988 through 2022, 35 parts. 2018 just dropped on Saturday, and the last episode will be the top 10 albums of 2022, which is quite a bit changed from the original one that I did during the holidays last year. Some new albums came in there that I started to enjoy a bit more than other ones that made the list. That'll be out on my birthday, August 19th, when I turn 35. And trust me, I'll be playing that Simpsons arcade while you're checking out that video. But a part of that, when that comes, probably that same weekend, we will be recording our top 10 albums in general. Like I mentioned on the show last week, the Metal Faerie has been doing this alongside me from 1988 to 2022, and I asked her to pick out her 10 favorite albums from everything that was listed between all 350 albums. So you combine the two of those, that's 700, well, at least up to 700 albums, because we do share a couple here and there that make it on there. But we're going to save that for the podcast. I'm not making a video of it on YouTube. I want you to check it out here. It will, we'll be going back and forth. The idea that I have is that either you or I will start doing our number 10, then the other one will do their number 10, and we'll go back and forth that way and see what happens with that. I think that'd be a great way to bring in the kids for the podcast. Before we wrap things up with the last of the plugs, is there anything else that you want to mention? Anything you're looking forward to? Anything at all?
Nothing else really. Just looking forward to some of the albums that I checked out the singles for and keep 80s music alive.
Right on. Well, if you enjoy what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe on whatever you're listening to for the platforms. You know, of course, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, all that good stuff. So just search Heavy Debriefings, you will find it there. And of course, like Heavy Debriefings on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, all under the name Heavy Debriefings. For the Metal Faerie, this is Josh Rundquist for the Heavy Debriefings Podcast saying, see ya.